Welcome. My name is Caleb Schwartz, and today I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Jesse Pasternak, on behalf of the Irvington Student Network. At the beginning of the year, the community welcomed Mr. Cohen as our new high school principal. A stranger at first, throughout the year, Mr. Cohen has made the effort to learn each and every one of his students' names, as well as getting to know them a little bit better. However, many students have not had the time to sit down with Mr. Cohen and really get to know him. Today, I have the opportunity to join Mr. Cohen in a discussion and ask him some of the questions that Irvington students want to know but may not have had the opportunity to ask. Mr. Cohen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Caleb and Jesse. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you guys today.
I believe Jesse has our first question.
Thank you, Caleb. So coming into your new position, what about Irvington High School specifically stood out to you?
So as I was looking to see where I might be able to move my career and where I would be able to set up roots in the next phase of my career, it was really important for me to find a community where I thought that my philosophies and styles as a leader really matched the current existing philosophies as well as the needs in whatever school district and community I was looking at. Specifically for Irvington, there were a number of factors that were so exciting to me and really appealing. Number one was the size. I started my career in a high school with 400 students. So the ability to come back to an area where there's approximately 600 at the high school in a fairly small town provided to me the opportunity to be in an intimate setting and to really get to know people. And that was really important to me. The other thing that I was really looking for was an environment where people collaborated and were really eager to work together to try to talk about how students really work best and how they learn and how we can work together to seek opportunities to anticipate the important transitions that we see these days to 21st century learning. And through some of my conversations with members of the district office and teachers and parents and students through the process, as well as some of my research behind the scenes, it was so clear to me that Irvington was the right place.
Great. Would you like to ask it?
Yeah, so what were some of the traditions here that you've noticed, and which ones did you like, which ones may you not have liked so much?
Mm-hmm. So, and you're right, there are many traditions and really staples of what makes Irvington Irvington. Some of those that I noticed right away, certainly our peer leadership program. It was one of the first things I was exposed to as principal. So this past summer I had the great opportunity to travel with the group of seniors that were going to become the peer leaders and to take part in their weekend retreat, which was just such an amazing experience for me and an opportunity to get to know students. So that was really unique and a great learning experience for me. Obviously, one of the first times that I drove up on campus, I got to see the Rock and the painting of the Rock, and has been such a great thing to see. I mean, if you actually go up to the Rock, you see layers and layers and layers of paint. In some ways, it would be so wonderful to be able to peel each layer away and see all the years of history that are built on that rock. So certainly a great aspect. And there's been so many more, whether it's homecoming, whether it's been different types of events, whether it's senior parking. There are a whole host of traditions that I know are very important to the students and to the community. And for the most part, I've been really eager to try to maintain those and to anticipate not so much if we want to keep or remove some of these important traditions, but whether or not there's been opportunities for us to tweak them so that we make sure that we're all working together to maintain all the things that we want in place from an academic, from a social, from a community standpoint for the school, but at the same time not lose the flavor of what's so important for Irvington.
Yeah. So there's a large number of traditions, but there's also a large number of clubs, and that number swelled even more this year.
Yes.
So what do you feel the role of a club should be in the Irvington high school community?
It's a great question, Jesse. And I think clubs provide students with an opportunity to expand their learning and their interests beyond the classroom. Sometimes we see it be an extension of the classroom, whether it be our Latin club or other clubs that maybe are an extension of some of our academic coursework. But there's so many of our clubs that have in some ways nothing to do with our daily academics. And to me, that speaks volumes to student leadership, to student interest, and I believe it's my job to support that as best as I can, but also at the same time to try to find appropriate parameters so that we make sure that it's all done in a way that I can support it so it fits school rules and district rules, but at the same time that I'm very much able to listen to students and to really support their interests.
So earlier this year, there was some controversy among the student body about the school student expression policies, and the Irvington students sort of mobilized and signed a petition against these policies.
Sure.
And the policies didn't go through in the board. So what is your opinion on this and how the student body handled the situation and react to it?
It was, in very many ways, we had a number of board and public meetings about it, and I think one of the things that came out a number of times, and I know Dr. Harrison shared it a number of times, was how impressive it was to see our students, and specifically the high school students, mobilize, and how they did it in a way that fits the exact traditions and mold of this country. And in many ways, this country is based on the fact that we do have free speech. But it's not just the free speech. It's about what is the appropriate way to express yourself. And clearly there were some questions that the student body had, some feelings and some questions as to whether their important rights might be in question. And I think for the most part, in almost every single case, students did it in a tremendously respectful but appropriate manner, whether it was through those meetings or whether it was through opportunities to express themselves about the ability to express themselves. So certainly you're right, Caleb, it was one of the first things I was exposed to here in the district. For me, it was a great opportunity to kind of sit back and learn and see how things play out. But at the same time, it was an opportunity for me to see what's important for students and to hear what's important for students. So it was a wonderful learning experience. And in the long run, I walked away feeling very proud of our student body.
So, did you have been principal at a number of other schools? Was there as active a community of students in your other schools as there was, as you found here?
Right. And just to clarify, and I appreciate you elevating me to principal in multiple schools, Jesse. So I came from a school in Brooklyn where I was principal for 7 years, and prior to that I spent 13 years at a small school in Queens where I was a teacher and then an assistant principal. Those experiences were different from what already I'm seeing here in Irvington. When I was in Brooklyn, I was in a school with 4,000 students. So in many ways, yes, I saw students immobilized, but it was different. When you're in a school of 4,000, it's more about pockets rather than collectivity of the entire student body. And quite honestly, when you talk about an urban setting for a school versus a suburban setting for a school, there are different needs, and the students may rally in different ways. So certainly in my past experiences, I was always opening to hear from students and wanting to hear what their questions and concerns would be and how we can work together to improve student life. One of the best questions that I like to ask walking around a school building, whether it's the ones I used to work in or whether it's here in Irvington, is, what do you think? How are things going? If you could change anything to make student life better, what would it be? And I want to hear that from students. So from that standpoint, yes, there's similarities, but there's no denying that things are very unique here in Irvington in a really, really powerful and positive way. Quite honestly, this experience right here with you guys is a perfect case in point. This isn't something that I had the pleasure of being a part of in my former lives.
Great.
So you have had a very long and diverse career, different school styles, and you have a philosophy that's very strongly connected with students. What first got you started in education?
It's a great question, Caleb. I actually graduated from college with an accounting degree, and I was an accountant working for, at the time, one of the big 6 accounting firms. I went to SUNY Albany, and when I graduated, I was hired by Coopers & Lybrand at the time. And I realized very quickly that I didn't love the work that I was doing. And I had a high school math teacher, my pre-calc and calc teacher, who was a great inspiration for me. And just a subtle thing that he used to do when we would take exams, he would go around the room and he would allow each student in the class to ask him one question. And it wasn't a question like, what's the answer to number 4? It would be a conceptual question that would help re-trigger thinking. And it struck me as such a compassionate way to be a teacher and a real partnership with students. And it always resonated for me. And I kind of thought that at the back end of my career, I would sort of retire into some potential educational opportunities. But when I became an accountant, I realized that it wasn't doing it for me, and I didn't feel fulfilled. It was a nice paycheck, but it wasn't a fulfilling career path. I quickly reassessed, and I decided I want to be in the classroom. So I started to go to school at night. I found my way into a new job where I knew I would be able to work part-time and student teach, and that was with an organization called Teach for America, where I was their CFO, and I ran their finances for a couple of years. And while I was doing that, I was taking my education classes, I student taught, and I eventually transitioned into the classroom as a math teacher, which ultimately then became a technology coordinator and teaching some classes in technology, web design, and things like that. And it was really then that I started to really understand how I wanted to work with students and what my real philosophies in education were about.
Great. So there's been a bit of a debate about Color Wars. Some feel that it adds to it's another great IHS tradition that allows students to learn things and have fun outside of the classroom. Others feel it takes away too much from the classroom and promotes potential bullying, potential class rivalries.
Okay.
But Dr. Mo was always a staunch supporter of it, and it has helped students have a lot of fun, both academically and sports-wise. Where do you stand on the debate, and do you plan on continuing the Color Wars tradition in your tenure?
It's a great question, Jesse. I'm not sure that I'm in a fair position yet to be able to fully tell you my assessment of our Color Wars, because certainly I need to experience our Color Wars. But fairly simplistically in stating, I would very much echo what I've heard, and not only directly from, but Dr. Mo, but also from students about those philosophies. And I think that it's very important in schools to try to find the right balance between the core academic needs, the right balance between supporting student interests, and making them feel connected in a spirited way as well as in an opportunistic way to their school, in this case specifically the high school. And quite frankly, opportunities for students to understand and exist in healthy competition and team building. So while certainly it concerns me just to hear that some may think that it could promote bullying, as a standalone statement, competition can be healthy, and competition alone isn't something that we should necessarily have to shy away from. But at the same time, if we do see that it exists or it plays itself out through Color Wars in a way that maybe isn't most productive, then I think together it's something that we should all consider and explore, certainly before we just jump to a conclusion that we should eliminate something that potentially is a great support for everyone.
Great.
So, on the topic of Color Wars, and even moving forward, what are some of your goals during your future career here at Irvington High School?
So I'm a big believer in students being able to have high school experiences that best prepare them for the next stages of their life. There's been a lot of research and a lot of evidence to show that some of those experiences can and should be hands-on based learning experiences. So one of the things that I'm eager to consider is where there may be opportunities for us to grow, whether it's through technology-based programs or other types of programs. Not that I've determined or decided any specific opportunities that we should go in, but I've seen things in schools from agriculture programs and farms to robotics programs and very technical engineering programs. So I think when you start to talk about these unique opportunities, they kind of break the mold in some ways and think outside the box. And at the same time, I also think it's really important for me to be able to support those core academic needs that we have. And that's not just for any one group of students, that's for all groups of students. So when you start to put all that together, it's a very lofty goal, but it's one that I'm unbelievably committed to, because ultimately I think that's the best way to support not only all the students, but each individual student along the way. So simplicity here, or case in point, is, obviously you guys have an interest here and you're doing some tremendous work. It would be silly and quite honestly amiss if I wasn't able to support this process to ensure that you can have opportunities to continue this learning and experience, because for some of you it may be a gateway and an entry point to your career path. So I want to be able to support that both in terms of learning and interest and fun, but also from some core learning and experience as well.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
You're welcome, Jesse.
Thank you. Well, it's quite clear that you're very dedicated to the students, and just the fact that you were able to come sit down with us and talk to us today. So thank you for being here.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you guys for putting this together.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr.
Have a
Khan.
great day.